So, Prabhuji, you're talking. I'm not
आपकी
able to
आवाज
hear.
नहीं आ रही.
Now you can hear me, Prabhu?
Yes,
yeah.
Prabhuji.
Okay, bro. Thank you, bro. So I'll just read out the verse once again. Sampadyamanam agnyaya bhishmam brahmani nishkale sarva babhuvuste tushnim vayam shivadinachaye. So translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Jai Srila Prabhupada. Knowing that Bhishmadev had merged into the unlimited eternity of the absolute, supreme absolute, all present there became silent like birds at the end of the day. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Jai Srila Prabhupada. To enter into or to become merged into the unlimited eternity of the supreme absolute means to enter the original home of the living being. The living beings are all component parts and parcel of the supreme personality of Godhead, and therefore they are eternally related with him as the servitor and the served. The Lord is served by all his parts and parcels, as the complete machine is served by its all parts and parcels. Any part of the machine removed from the whole is no longer important. Similarly, any part and parcel of the absolute detached from the service of the Lord is useless. The living beings who are in material world are all disintegrated parts and parcels of the supreme whole, and they are no longer as important as the original parts and parcels. There are, however, more integrated living beings who are eternally liberated. The material energy of the Lord, called Durga Shakti, or the superintendent of the prison house, takes charge of the disintegrated parts and parcels, and thus they undergo a conditioned life under the laws of material nature. When the
Prabhu,
living being becomes conscious,
Prabhu, Hare Krishna. I am very sorry to disturb you. Prabhu, would you want one of the devotees to read this? They also like to read it, so they can. Sorry to
okay,
disturb you. Sorry.
no problem, bro. Okay, bro. From next verse onwards, I'll
Yeah,
give
yeah,
it to
yeah.
them.
Thank you so much. Sorry to bother you.
Thank you, bro. Hare Krishna. Yeah, the material energy of the Lord, called Durga Shakti or the superintendent of the prison house, takes charge of the disintegrated parts and parcel, and thus they undergo a conditioned life under the laws of material nature. When the living entities become conscious of this fact, he tries to go back home, back to Godhead, and thus the spiritual urge of the living beings begins. The spiritual urge is called Brahma Jigyasa, or inquiring about the Brahman. Principally, this Brahma Jigyasa is successful by knowledge, renunciation, and devotional service to the Lord. Knowledge means knowledge of everything of Brahman, the supreme renunciation. The supreme renunciation means detachment of the material affection, and devotional service is the revival by practice of the original position of the living being. The successful living beings who are eligible to enter into the realm of the absolute are called the Gyanis, the Yogis, and the Bhaktas. The Gyanis and Yogis enter into the impersonal rays of the Supreme, but the Bhaktas enter into the spiritual planets known as the Vaikunthas. In these spiritual planets, the Supreme Lord as Narayana predominates, and the healthy, unconditioned living beings live there by rendering loving service to the Lord in the capacity of a servant, friend, parents, and fiancé. There are the unconditioned living beings enjoy life in full freedom with the Lord, whereas the impulseless Gyanis or Yogis enter into the impersonal glowing effulgence of the Vaikuntha planets. The Vaikuntha planets are self-illuminating like the sun, and the rays of the Vaikuntha planets are called Brahma Jyoti. The Brahma Jyoti is spread unlimitedly, and the material world is but a covered portion of an insignificant part of the same Brahma Jyoti. This covering is temporary, and therefore it is a sort of illusion. I'll read this once again. The Brahma Jyoti is spread unlimitedly, and the material world is but a covered portion of the insignificant part of the Brahma Jyoti. This covering is temporary, and therefore it is a sort of illusion. Bhishmadev, as a pure devotee of the Lord, entered the spiritual realm in one of the Vaikuntha planets where the Lord, in his eternal form of Parsasarthi, predominates over the unconditional living beings who are constantly engaged in the service of the Lord. The love and affection which bind the love and devotees are exhibited in the case of Bhishmadev. Bhishmadev never forgot the Lord in his transcendental feature as the Parsasarthi, and the Lord was present personally before Bhishmadev while he was passing through the transcendental world. This is the highest perfection of life. Jai. So this is a very nice purport, although lengthy, but very important to get few teachings from this verse. So here we see that now Bhishma Dev had merged into the unlimited eternity of the supreme absolute truth. So although Bhishma Dev was who took the side of the Pandavas and was uh, doing a war from the Kaurava side, but still he was very much dear to the Lord. And when he just merged into the unlimited eternity of the supreme absolute truth, because this is one of the form of liberation where a living entity or devotee soul merges into the merges with the Supreme Lord. Hare Krishna, just give me one moment. I'll just come back. Hare Krishna, sorry for the disturbance, dear assembled Vaishnavas. Yeah, so we were discussing that one of the liberation is the liberation where the soul of the living entity merges into the Supreme Lord. So this is also one kind of liberation. So there are different kinds of liberation like Swarupya, Samipya. So these are the different kinds of liberation. But Bhishma Dev attained the Vaikuntha Loka. He didn't attend any um, Brahma Jyoti as mentioned here. And when he attained the lotus feet of the Lord, Bhishma Dev, all present there become silent like birds at the end of the day. So because Bhishma Dev was so dear to the Lord and all the devotees, that when this happened, all the sages who were assembled from different planets, different from places, they became so silent and they were meditating on the activities of Bhishma Dev or the stutis or prayers which he sang for the Lord. So in purport, uh, Srila Prabhupada explains beautifully that we are all parts and parcels of the Lord. As if we take a water from the if we take a water from the ocean, and if we do a comparison, then they are similar in quality but not in quantity. Similarly, if we take little gold from the gold mine, so gold taken from the gold mine and the gold mine, they are same in quality but not in quantity. So similarly, we are also the parts and parcels of the Lord. But when we come in the association or in contact with this material world, then what happens? We become contaminated. As rainwater, originally it is crystal clear, very pure, but as it comes in contact uh, with the mud or with the uh, other things, it becomes contaminated. So similarly, we are all pure eternal souls or parts and parcels of the Lord in quality, but not in quantity. But when we come in this material world, our consciousness gets polluted. But there are other liberated souls also who are there because they have established their sambandha or their what we say relation with the Lord. So this sambandha gyan we need to establish with the Lord, or that we can establish through by following some authority, by following some parampara, and through that we can cultivate that relationship. So Jivere Swarup hoy, Krishna Nitya Daya. So we are all eternally related to the Lord, connected to the Lord. But because we are in this material world, we become forgetful of the Lord. But when we hear such pastimes of Bhishma Dev with and his loving reciprocations with the Lord, then we also get encouragement to have a relationship with the Lord. Because we see in today's world, wherever we try to establish a relationship, somehow or other there are some misunderstandings or miscommunications that it doesn't last longer. But when or if we have a unconditional love for somebody also, but still this as Bishwadev earlier explained that with respect to time, either we leave them or they leave us, right? So there is no unconditional love or it is hankered. So but the bhakti is aprati aparhitita yayatma suprasiddhati. So the bhakti is unending and unflinching devotion is only known as the bhakti, the process of bhakti. So when we try to establish this knowledge in coming association with the Lord and his pure devotees like Bhishma Dev, then we will understand the glory of having relationship with the Lord. Because if we are alone also, still we are uh, observed, or still we are with the Lord. So there was one Brahmana, Gurudev, and he was having a Gurukul. So in Gurukul, he asked his three children, three students, to just he just gave him a mango to all each one of them, and told his students that go and eat in a place that where nobody will see you. So this first student, he went in the dark room and ate the mango where nobody can watch him, and he ate the mango. The second student, he went under a tree, and he ensured that nobody sees him, and he ate the mango. The third student, he went into the dark room, and he just took his blanket, and underneath he just had a mango. But the fourth student, he didn't had a mango. So what happened then? When the end of the day, when all reported to their Gurudev that we finished our mango, where nobody could watch us. So then the Gurudev said, okay, that's nice. So what about all of you? All you have finished the mango. But he saw that he noticed that the fourth student, he didn't had his mango. So he asked him that why you didn't uh, finish this mango in a place where nobody would see you. So he told that Gurudev, wherever I went, I saw that the presence of the Lord, because the Paramatma inside my heart is always watching me. So that's why. So wherever I went, I couldn't find a place where nobody can see me. So the Gurudev told him, yeah, that is the principle I wanted to taught you. So the Lord is present everywhere. That's why he's known as Vishnu, because he is inside every anu. So that's why he's known as Vishnu. And similarly, the Lord is also residing in our as a Paramatma in our heart also, not only in human form, and to an elephant till Indra, in everybody's heart, the Lord resides as Paramatma. As a GPS, whenever we just start a GPS, although we make a wrong turn, but still the GPS tells us, okay, now take this path so that you will reach your destination. If we make a wrong turn, also still the GPS tells, he doesn't gives up. So the GPS doesn't gives up upon us. So similarly, Lord Krishna is also like a transcendental GPS. In whichever feature uh, we are, in whichever situation we are, but still the Lord as a Paramatma in our hearts gives us the direction. No, this is good. No, this is bad. But sometimes we are so puffed up with our uh, education and our studies that we don't care to hear about the Lord, right? So many times, many of us have noticed also. Sometimes we say ना, एक अंदर की आवाज आई और मैं वो चीज करने से रुक गया और फिर बच गया, right? So similarly, that Lord is always inspiring us, but uh, for a long time, for a long span of life, we are not connected with the Lord. So that's why we are not able to hear the voice of the Lord or the inner voice. But when we come in contact with the Krishna consciousness or the devotees of the Lord, when we chant his name, when we hear about his pastimes, then what happens? The Lord comes closer and closer. And then we can have a relationship with him. As Bhishmadev was having a very nice relationship with him, with the Lord. So when we come in this material world is also known as prison house. Durg. Durg means prison house. And Durga means the one who is the jailer of this prison house. So this jailer of the prison house is no other than this Durga Devi, the Maya Shakti of the Lord. So this Durga Devi ensures that we stay in this material world. But this Maya Shakti is there. So of course, about this Maya, nobody will talk much in the outside world. But when we come in this association of devotees, then only we'll come to know that the Maya Shakti is also there. But when we do Brahma Jigyasa or inquire about the absolute truth, why good things happen to bad people, why bad things happen to good people, is God existing, or why am I suffering, or why there is so much miseries in life, or what is the goal of my life. So these are the some questions which leads us to the Brahma Jigyasa, or to knowing the absolute person. So this Brahma Jigyasa is what, but people are so engrossed in their activities that they are not thinking at what happens to a person after death. But when we come in contact with this beautiful stories or pastimes of the Lord with his devotees, we can also understand, yeah, there is also one spiritual world where there are no material pain, no miseries, only happiness. There will become peaceful and blissful. So in Bhagavad Gita also the Lord says, Na tad bhashayate suryo na shashanko na pavaka yad gatva nani vartante tad dhama paramam mama. That there is no sun, no moon, no electricity, doesn't require all this in spiritual world, because the spiritual world are so effulgent, Vaikuntha, that there is no external effulgence is required. Everybody is effulgent there. Na tad bhashayate suryo na shashanko na pavaka yad gatva na nivartante tad dhama paramam. And those who enter this beautiful abode of the Lord, they will not return to the material world, because this material world is called kuntha. It is full of anxieties. Padam padam yad vipadam natesham. At every step we face some more other dangers. But the Lord's planet is known as Vaikuntha. Why? Because there is no kuntha, there is no anxiety. It is above the kuntha. Here we have so much anxiety, from birth till death, so much career, family, financial issues, this professional career, and there's so many things, health issues, then stress, depression. So nowadays people, corporate people, they stressed, depressed, yet well dressed. So this is how these people are living in this world. But internally they might show, yeah, we are a first class man, suited, booted, everything nice, but still inside something is lacking, because they have not established the relationship with the Lord, right? So they are establishing relationship with dogs, cats, and many other people. I was hearing one lecture. One lady, she was so frustrated with all her relationships in her life that she married Eiffel Tower. And then she said, everybody left me or everybody disappointed me, but this Eiffel Tower will not disappoint me, because he stands here straight. So this is the consciousness of the people, so degraded. Their people are to be loved and things are to be used, but nowadays people are loving things and they are using the other people just for their own satisfaction. But from here we can understand the Lord's Vaikuntha is full of joy and blissfulness, and the devotees always try to do service in such a way that they will go back home, back to God, to the Lord, and there they will render service to the Lord. And here also we need to do the same service, we need to render service to the Lord, and there also we need to render service, because in seva we get more joy than just doing bhokta, or than just enjoying. By serving the Lord we enjoy more. So there is one rasgulla. So if I'll tell you what you would like to become, if you want to become rasgulla or you want to have it a rasgulla, everybody will prefer to have a rasgulla. So similarly the devotees are that people who want to have this rasgulla, and rasgulla is the Lord. So the Lord is so sweet, uh, and so tasty, that's so palatable, that when we try to uh, uh, or when we try to establish our connection with the Lord, or when we try to uh, eat the sweetness of the Lord's pastimes, then what happens? We become joyful. And Bhishma Deva always was meditating on the Parthsarthi form of the Lord. Parthsarthi means when he became the chariot driver of the Arjuna, Partha. So he was acting as a Parthsarthi of the Lord. So every devotee, all of us should have some personal contact with our some deity, or some deity or some Thakurji in our home, so that we should always meditate upon them, like Bhishma Dev was meditating. And at the end of his life, since he was meditating on the Parthsarthi form of the Lord, at the end of the life, uh, he he went into the planet of Vaikuntha Loka, where the Lord was uh, ruling that abode as a Parthsarthi. So Bhishmadeva, while passing from this world, he was just meditating on this Parthsarthi form of the Lord, and then he achieved the Vaikuntha planet, where the predominating was the Narayana, the Parthsarthi form. Although he was meditating in the previous verses, we saw that he was meditating upon the Narayan feature of the Lord, the four-handed feature of the Lord. So this is the feature he was meditating on, the Narayan form and the Parthsarthi form. And by just meditating and just by remembering that beautiful Vigraha, or the beautiful form of the Lord, he got the highest perfection of life. So we'll move on to the next shloka, text 45. Tatra Dundubhayone Devamanaavaditah Shashamshu Sadavo Rajñam Khatpetuha Pushpavrishtaya. Translation purport by Srila Prabhupada. Jai Srila Prabhupada. Anybody would like to read?
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Thereafter,
Okay.
both men and demigods sounded drums in honor, and the honest royal order commenced demonstrations of honor and respect. And from the sky fell showers of flowers. Purport: Bhishma Dev was respected both by the human beings and by the demigods. The human beings live on Earth and similar other planets in the Bhur or Bhuvar group of planets. But demigods live in the Swarg or heavenly planets. And all of them knew Bhishma Dev as a great warrior and devotee of the Lord. As a Mahajan, or you mean to say authority, he was on the level of Brahma, Narad, and Shiva, although he was a human being. Qualifications on a par with the great demigods is possible only on attainment of spiritual perfection. Thus, Vishnudev was known all over the universes, and during the time, interplanetary travel was effected by finer methods than the futile endeavors of mechanical spacecraft. When the distant planets were informed of the passing away of the Vishnudev, all the inhabitants of the upper planets as well as of the earth dropped showers of flowers to show due respect to the departed great personality. This showering of flowers from heaven is a sign of recognition by great demigods, as it should never be compared to the decoration of the dead body. The body of Vishnudev lost its material effects due to being surcharged with spiritual realization, and thus the body was spiritualized as and as when iron becomes red hot when in contact with fire. The body of a fully self-realized soul is not therefore accepted as material. Special ceremonies are observed for such spiritual bodies. The respect and recognition of Bhishmadev are never to be imitated by artificial means, as it has become a fashion to observe the so-called Jayanti ceremony for any or every common man. According to the authorized Shastras, where such a Jayanti ceremony for an ordinary man, however exalted he may be materially, is an offense to the Lord, because Jayanti is reserved for the day when the Lord appears on the earth. Vishnudev was unique in his activities, and the passing away to the kingdom of the God is also unique. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Prabhu. So very nice purport. So as Bhishmadev passed away, uh, so what happened? So all the men and demigods sounded drums in honors. So it is an act of or honor from the demigods that they shower flowers and they play drums. So, and they also played the showers and they also played the drums and showered flowers, because Bhishmadev was not only a great warrior. When he was playing the war of Kurukshetra, he was 450 years old at that time. But still, he was so powerful and so influential that the Kauravas declared that he is our this commander in general, Bhishmadev. Kauravas. So for Kauravas, and Kaurava knew from the very beginning that till the time Bhishma Dev is with us, he is in favor of us, we will not face any challenges. And till the time Bhishma Dev was present on the battlefield, no Pandava was able to defeat or kill one Kaurava, because the Kaurava were 100 in numbers. So they were not able to kill a single Kaurava because Bhishma Deva was so powerful and influential that just by his strength, he was stopping everybody to come near all the Kauravas, and he was leading ahead. So Bhishma Deva was not only was a great warrior, but he was also a great devotee of the Lord, as we can see from his life's activities. Although from externally he was committed to the throne or to the service of the throne of Hastinapur, but internally he was always connected with the Lord. And he took a position so that he can see the Lord in front of his. So our acharyas explained that he took the side of the Kauravas so that he will always see the Lord in his front, because the Lord was driving the chariot of Arjuna, and he was always hankering to take that beautiful darshan of the Lord. So the Bhishma Dev, so this is also one of the reason that Bhishma Dev fought from the Kaurava side. Of course, there are many reasons, and that will really inspire us to hear about. But now here, this is been explained. So he was not. Sometimes we are, we say I am very famous, right? Sometimes we say, but there is difference between the word famous and popular, right? So if we say that Ambani is a very, sometimes we say that Ambani is very famous, and sometimes we say Sachin Tendulkar is very popular personality, right? So the difference between that is, famous means that you are known by everybody, but the word popular means is that you are loved by everybody. So this is the difference between the word famous and the popular. So Bhishma Deva was not only famous among the human beings, but he was also popular. He was also loved by everyone. And this is the quality of a devotee. When he becomes a devotee, or when he takes the path of devotional service, everybody likes that person, or everybody favors that person. Of course, the materialistic will always be envious to the devotees, because they never want other person to get glorified. They always want their own glorification. But when we become the devotees of the Lord, or when we take up the devotional service of the Lord, all the demigods from Indra, Brahma, Shiva, they all respect us with awe and reverence, because we have taken the path of devotional service. So this is the glory of the devotee of the Lord. And he was a Mahajan. Mahajan means authority. So just by following another authority, we become authorized. So similarly, this by following the activities of Bhishma Dev, or by following the examples or teachings of Bhishma Dev, we will also become authorized person in the path of devotion. And Bhishma Dev, uh, yeah. And so when this act was happening, everybody was really joyful, because when the devotee passes away, when the devotee passes away from the Lord, we also become joyful. Why? Because we are joyful and morose also. Both the reasons are there. Why? Because why we become joyful? Because that devotee has attained the lotus feet of the Lord, where he will serve the Lord eternally. And we become sorrowful also. Why? Because now we are bereft of that devotee's association. So that's why we feel sorrow. Sorry. So that's why we feel sorrow. So this is the thing. So when a devotee passes away, everybody, the other devotees, they become joyful that he now, so now he has attained the lotus feet of the Lord. While the devotees also become morose, because they are now bereft of their association. But this Bhishmadev's example was so really nice that all the sages and demigods, they were really happy and jubilant about this, and they were also lamenting that they are now bereft of their association. And also one Srila Prabhupada gives a very nice example in this content, that when a iron rod comes in contact with the fire, he becomes a fire. So similarly, Bhishma Dev, just by coming in contact with the Lord, he becomes so powerful and effulgent as the fire. and uh, and we cannot imitate Bhishma Dev in this connection, but we can follow his teachings to always meditate upon the Lord, because his example, or he was so elevated that he is compared here to with Brahma, Narad, and Shiva. So according to the, yeah, and Srila Prabhupada also mentions that according to the authority, this Jayanti we celebrate is only for the Lord and his pure devotees. But nowadays we are, Jayanti means to glorify them. Unki jai jaykar karna, that is called Jayanti. But nowadays we are also doing Jayanti of many material people, because who are political, or who have no much, who don't have much contribution in spiritual area, but still we tell them inki Jayanti hai. Yeah, Shastri Jayanti, Lal Bahadur Shastri Jayanti, Gandhi Jayanti, Ye Jayanti. So we are doing this Jayanti, but this is not right. Or we can have some uh, inspiration session for such high personalities, but we cannot name them as Jayanti, because Jayanti means the activities of the Lord where we can glorify the Lord or his pure devotees on that particular day. So this is the important teaching which Srila Prabhupada is giving us from this purport. And Bhishmadev was really unique, and the way it Bhishmadev passed away was really unique. And every devotee hankers that curb, at the time of the death, if I'll be able to see the Lord, then that will be my achievement in life. So there is one bhajan also which our acharyas has composed, that itna to karna swami jab pran tan se nikle, govind naam leke jab pran tan se nikle. So the devotees also aspire to have a death like this, where they can see the Lord, or they can, इतना तो करना स्वामी जब प्राण तन से निकले गोविंद नाम लेके, that we chant the name of the holy name of the Lord, and we call out to the Lord that, oh Lord, please take us now. We are uh, now we are just हम यहाँ पर फंस गए. We are all bounded in this material world, but oh Lord, you please protect us. So in that way Bhishma Dev also called out, and the Lord protected him. So similarly for us also it is hope, because Bhishma Dev's teachings we can understand, just by following the teachings of Bhishma Dev, or just by meditating on the deity form of the Lord, we will also become conscious of the Lord, and in that way we will able to remember him at the time of our death. So we'll go to our next slok, 1946. तस्य निर्हारनादीनि सम्परे तस्य भार्गव युधिष्ठिर कारयित्वा मुहूर्तं दुःखितो अभवत्. Translation purport by Srila Prabhupada. Jai Srila Prabhupada. Any devotee wants to read?
Keshav Bharati. Translation. O descendant of Bhrigu, Saunaka, after performing funeral rituals for the dead body of Bhishmadeva, Maharaja Yudhishthira was momentarily overtaken with grief. Purport. Bhishmadeva was not only a great family head of Maharaja Yudhishthira, but also he was a great philosopher and friend to him, his brothers and his mother. Since Maharaja Pandu, the father of the five brothers headed by Maharaja Yudhishthira, had died, Bhishmadeva was the most affectionate grandfather of the Pandavas and caretaker of the widowed daughter-in-law Kunti Devi. Also, Maharaja Dhritarashtra, the elder uncle of Maharaja Yudhishthira, was there to look after them. His affection was more on the side of his 100 sons, headed by Duryodhana. Ultimately, a colossal clique was fabricated to deprive the five fatherless brothers of the rightful claim of the kingdom of Astinapura. There was great intrigue common in imperial palaces, and the five brothers were exiled to the wilderness. But Bhishmadeva was always a sincerely sympathetic well-wisher, grandfather, friend, and philosopher of Maharaja Yudhishthira, even up to the last moment of his life. He died very happy by bringing Maharaja Yudhishthira to the throne. Otherwise, he would have long ago quitted his material body. Instead of suffering agony over the undue sufferings of the Pandava, he was simply waiting for the opportune moment, because he was sure and certain that the sons of Pandu would come out victorious on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, as his Lordship Sri Krishna was their protector. As a devotee of the Lord, he knew that the Lord's devotee cannot be vanquished at any time. Maharaja Yudhishthira was quite aware of all these good wishes of Bhishma Deva, and therefore he must have been feeling the great separation. He was sorry for the separation of a great soul and not for the material body which Bhishma Deva relinquished. The funeral ceremony was a necessary duty, although Bhishma Deva was a liberated soul. Since Bhishma Deva was without issue, the eldest grandson, namely Maharaja Yudhishthira, was the rightful person to perform this ceremony. It was great boon to Bhishma Deva that an equally great son of the family undertook the last rites of a great man.
Okay, Hare Krishna, bro. Thank you so much. So again, wonderful purport with where we can see that as Bhishmadev passed away, this there are some funeral rites, final rites has to perform. So Maharaj Yudhishthir took charge of this, being the elder son of the family, or the all being the elder son of the Kul, in fact. So he got this boon to do this final rites, and he was overtaken by grief, as we discussed in our last purport, that he was happy because Bhishmadev got moksha from his this suffering body, because he was lying on the bed of the arrows, and there was not a one little space where even a needle can also go. So that much uh, arrows were uh, pierced, and he was feeling the pain. All his blood was gone, and still he was, because he got the Ichamrutyu Vardhan from his father Maharaj Shantanu. But so still he was waiting for the right time to depart, and he was waiting for the right time when will all the when he will see the right person to rule on the kingdom of Hastinapur instead of Dhritarashtra, and when he will get the chance to see the Lord Sri Krishna or Lord Narayan, Lord Parthasarathi. So that's why Bhishmadeva was waiting. And Yudhishthir Maharaj was a very Dharmaraj. So because this happened, so he was lamenting, no, that because of my desire to enjoy the kingdom, I had taken the life of my dear grandfather. And this grandfather was so dear to me, and I was so dear, and we were all so dear to him that we always protected us. Although from the very beginning, when our father died, Yudhishthir Maharaj was thinking like that. When my father died, Maharaj Pandu, so we are left anath, and our mother was only there to take care of. So, but Bhishmadev and Vidurji took care of us so nicely and protected us always. In fact, the ill-minded Dhritarashtra was only liking his own sons, headed by Duryodhana, and he was always supporting his own sons in whichever situation they were doing bad to the Pandavas. But still, Bhishmadev was having always having a soft corner towards the Pandavas, and he was very sympathetic, and he was always looking for the needs of the Pandavas. And when he saw that Maharaj Yudhishthira is not going to become the king of the Hastinapur, the Samrat, then he was really happy. And by seeing this, he thought, now my life's mission is complete, to see a worthy person on the throne of Hastinapur. And in that way, Bhishmadev also decided to quit his life. And as the devotee of the Lord, Yudhishthir Maharaj was not lamenting uh, for his body. Yudhishthir Maharaj was lamenting because so much this grandfather Bhishma they did to him. They used to call them Pitamaha, Pitamaha. That is our dear grandfather. So he was really feeling sorry because he now not get a chance to associate with Bhishma Dev, where he gave him so much teachings and so much knowledge about how to rule a kingdom or how to become a great king from the very beginning of his childhood. And when we do such funeral ceremony, the assembly of Vaishnavas which come along is also makes a big difference. So when we call assembled Vaishnavas uh, in such ceremonies and we feed them prasad, so this is also very nice. This thing. So since Bhishma Dev was without issue, the eldest grandson, Maharaj Yudhishthira was the rightful person to perform this ceremony. So Maharaj Yudhishthira rightfully performed this ceremony, and it was boon to Bhishma Dev also that such a uh, rightful person from his family has done this final rites. So we can see that how glorious was Bhishma Dev's life, that just by taking the shelter of the Lord, he got the best of the best things at the end of his life. And all the sages assembled. Lord Sri Krishna came, his own family members came to see him. And in fact, it is also mentioned that when Bhishma Dev was feeling thirsty uh, while lying on the bed of arrows, Arjuna, with his arrow, he just shot one arrow, and there was one kund or Ganga Nadi appeared to bless Bhishma Dev also. So this is also explained. So in Kurukshetra there is little kund also there, where it is also known as some Bhishma kund, where Bhishma Dev drank the water from the Ganges water which Arjuna brought in by shooting his arrow. So in that way he got the association, or he got the Ashirvad or blessings of his own mother also, because he was known as the Ganga Putra. So this is the glory of the Vaishnavas, or this is the glory of the Lord's pure devotees. When we take up to the devotional service, everything falls in place, and at the end, we will achieve our final destination, which is going back home, back to Godhead. So yad gatvana nivartante tad dhama paramam mama, and by going back home, back to Godhead, then we will not be able to take birth in the womb of the mother and to do a thing from the very beginning, from childhood studies, then professional life, so many things we need to do. So just by taking devotional service to the of the Lord, we'll all get protected from all the anxieties and fears in our life. And at the end of life, we go back home, back to Godhead. And when we go back home, back to Godhead, then all such exalted personalities, Brahma, Narad, Shiva, and all the other demigods, they bow before us, and they uh, shower mercy upon us, that no, this fortunate soul, after so many births, he was suffering in this material world, uh, and just changing body one after another, or one after another, and now he has attained the final destination. So he is indeed glorious. So this is how the mentality of the other demigods also in today's world. Whenever somebody goes high, or advances in some material prospect or some other prospect, then generally other people get jealous. But in spirit, and this is also called a crab mentality, where you see, where whenever these crabs are sent from one place to another, they are not covering that jar with a lid, because the people who are dispatching the crab from one place to another, because they know if one crab tries to go up, other crab will pull his leg, and he will always take him down, so that no crab will allow any other crab to just go out of that lid. So similarly, so in this material world also there is a crab mentality. People are not very favorable to us when we advance, but when we advance in spiritual life, everybody becomes favorable. So this is also one of the lesson that we can take from these verses. So we'll go to next slok.
Prabhu, one question. The verse starts with "O descendant of Bhragu, Shaunaka." It means all the Shaunak rishis who were assembled there, because Sud Goswami is, I think, telling this verse.
Yes, Prabhuji. Because in first canto you will see this first canto, this in the place of Naimisharanya, Suta Goswami is narrating all these leelas to the Saunakadi Rishi and the 88,000 rishis. So Bhrigu is the Saunak Rishi, and so he was telling him about these acts, because now Maharaj Parikshit is not in this episode. So
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
why the Suta Goswami is narrating all the history before the Parikshit Maharaj births and all.
So Shaunak Rishi is one personality. Then other rishis.
Yeah, because Saunak is the representative, or the leader of all the 88,000 rishis present amongst Naimisharanya.
Yeah.
Okay, bro. I will move ahead to our next shloka. Text 47. तुष्टुवोर्मनयोरिष्टः कृष्णं तद्गुह्य नामभिः ततस्ते कृष्ण हृदयः Swashra Manprayayu Bunaha. Translation purport by Srila Prabhupada. Jai Srila Prabhupada.
All the great
Yes.
sages then glorified Lord Shri Krishna, who was present there, by confidential Vedic hymns. Then all of them returned to their respective hermitages, bearing always Lord Krishna within their hearts. The devotees of the Lord are always in the heart of the Lord, and the Lord is always in the hearts of the devotees. That is the sweet relation between the Lord and his devotees. Due to unalloyed love and devotion for the Lord, the devotees always see him with themselves. And the Lord also, although he has nothing to do and nothing to aspire to, is always busy in attending to the welfare of his devotees. For the ordinary living beings, the law of nature is there for all actions and reactions, but he is always anxious to put his devotees on the right path. The devotees, therefore, are under the direct care of the Lord, and the Lord also voluntarily puts himself under the care of his devotees only. So, all the sages headed by Vyasdev were devotees of the Lord, and therefore they chanted the Vedic hymns and after the funeral ceremony just to please the Lord who was present there personally. All the Vedic hymns are chanted to please Lord Krishna. This is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita 15.15. All the Vedas, Upanishads, Vedantas, etc. Are seeking Him only, and all hymns are for glorifying Him only. The sages therefore performed the exact acts suitable for the purpose and then happily departed for their respective hermitages. Hare Krishna.
Jai. So, so all the great sages then glorified Lord Krishna, who is present there by confidential Vedic hymns. So it is also a nice quality of the Brahmanas to chant some Vedic mantras. And so all the great sages glorified Lord Sri Krishna because they knew that just by coming in contact with Lord Krishna, Vishwadev has made his life successful. So he glorified him that, just by Lord Sri Krishna's pure devotional service, everybody will be benefited. Everybody are always benefited. And in that way, just by remembering or meditating, they all suggest return to their respective hermitages, and always they carry the Lord within their hearts. So this is also one quality of the Vaishnava or devotee of the Lord, that they always carry the Lord within their hearts. They don't carry Kam, Krodh, Lobh, Moh, Mad, Matsarya. They don't carry lust, anger, greed, illusion, or some this other enemies in our heart. They carry in our heart the Lord of our lives. They carry the Lord in their hearts always. So when we come in contact with such pure devotees, we'll come to know, oh, that in spite of so many impediments in his life, but still he is so focused, and still he is so committed to his uh, life for sadhana, that he is not hankering for another thing. So that from that we can come to know that he is always meditating, or he is always keeping the Lord in his heart. So when we keep the Lord in our heart, we always see good for others. Or when we keep the Lord in our hearts, or we always meditate upon such qualities or leelas of the Lord, then what happens? Our heart becomes soft. And when our heart becomes soft, then the Lord comes and steals our heart. Because the Lord likes butter. Why? Right? So butter, why? Because it is pure and it is white. So similarly, when the devotee's heart become pure as butter, and it becomes white without any contamination, so the Lord also comes and steals our heart. So that's why the Lord in the Damodar Leela also, he steals the gopis butter, because that butter was really pure, made purely with for the satisfaction of the Lord. And also it was very white, because they were not having any tinge of material desire. They were just doing just to satisfy the Lord. So, and not only that, in the heart of the devotee, Lord resides, and in the heart of the Lord, the devotees reside. Sadhava hridayam mayam sadhunam hridayantam apat mad anyaktena janati nam tevgyo managapi. So in the pastime of Amrish Maharaj, the Lord tells to Durvasa Muni that I am always in the heart of my devotee, and my devotee is always in my heart. And apart from that, I don't know anything else. So this is the glory. So when we take one step closer to the Lord also takes 10 steps closer to his devotees. And not only Bhishma Dev just surrendered to the Lord, but Lord Sri Krishna also gave him his heartfelt blessings upon Bhishma Dev, and he was also very happy for Bhishma Dev's departure and attainment of his own abode of the attainment of the abode of the Lord Parthasarthi or Lord Narayan. So this is the glory. And just by doing unalloyed devotion, the devotees always see him within themselves, and he has nothing to do to aspire him. And when we take up this path of devotional service, then uh, we don't find any material desire to to get anything, because when we do devotional service, our heart becomes so satisfied and joyful that we don't then we lose taste in lower things. So if somebody is uh, constantly eating potato, and after some time if he gets a paneer to eat, so that person will really appreciate paneer in his life. So similarly, when we get some higher taste, then all the taste for this lower things will automatically go away. So similarly, when we get this association, or when we come in this contact of this Krishna consciousness, the Lord and his devotees, then we lose taste for other material things also. And when we surrender to the Lord, when we do samarpan, the Lord takes the responsibility to protect us from all kinds of fears and anxieties, as it is also confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita. And the Lord gives special care to that devotee that who is always surrendered to him. So, and there were also sages headed by Vyasdev also. So they chanted the Vedic hymns after the funeral ceremony for the pleasure of the Lord Krishna, and they just departed to the respective hermitages. And from the Bhagavad Gita and from the Vedas also, Vedascha sarvar ahameva vedyo vedanta krit veda videha chaham. So by studying the Vedas only, the conclusion is to understand Krishna. And by following the devotional service, the path of devotional service is to also understand Krishna. So Krishna is the active force of our life. And when we do activities for the Lord, then it becomes a yajna. Then there is no need to do some yajna and put some ahuti in the fire. Of course, that is also one kind of yajna. But when we do when we mold our life in such a way that we are doing everything just to just for the satisfaction of the Lord, and everything can be doubted in the devotional process, so that we can please the Lord. Now the question will rise, how? So there are some examples which I would like to share, so that it will help us to relate that if we do this kind of things, or we do this all the same things with this consciousness, then it will be a act of sacrifice for the pleasure of the Lord. For example, if you are going to office, although in office full day we are not able to remember the Lord, but still we should pray to the Lord that, oh Lord, let me remember you all day. And if I don't remember, uh, then at least let me have that mood that whatever I earn, I will engage in your service. Or let's say if you're going from one place to another, so you should give the credit to the Lord. Oh Lord, I'm just going there so that I can finish that work and then engage in your service. So in that way, we should try to take small baby steps in our general life, so that we can somehow or other make a practice to remember the Lord. And if we cultivate this practice, then over a period of time we see that whenever if we sneeze also, we say, oh Krishna. Will not say, oh sorry. We'll say, oh Krishna. So similarly, these things will come when we have a practice, because as the sun rises gradually, so similarly this gradual practice will help us to rise from our own anarthas, and to come to the platform of spiritual consciousness, where we will also always keep the Lord within our hearts. And we'll also try, or if we go to supermarket also, we will not, a devotee will not think, oh let me just take it, let me take this broccoli, काफी दिनों से खाई नहीं है. He will say, oh, for me, since so many days I have not offered Krishna the vegetable or curry of broccoli, let me just take it. for the Lord's pleasure. So similarly, when we do things in a way, then that will dovetail, and that will help us to remember the Lord somehow or other. So there was three persons who were cutting the stones at some place. So one person went and asked the first person that what you are doing. So he said, don't you see? Are you blind? I'm cutting the stones. By cutting the stones, I'll get some money and I'll lead my life. So he says, okay, okay. So he goes to the second person who was cutting the rocks. So he asked, so this person replied, yeah, I'm cutting the rocks because they this owner requested to do me, and they will give me some accommodation and food, so that's why I'm doing, so he says okay. Then he went to the third person who was cutting the rocks. So he asked what you are doing. So he said, oh, I am engaging myself in the service of the Lord, because by cutting these rocks will be helpful in building the temple of the Lord, so I'm building the temple of the Lord. So this was the reply of the third person. So from all these three scenarios, we can learn that although they were all cutting the rocks only, but the mood of the third person, that I am contributing in the service of the Lord, or in a humble manner, he was saying that I am just helping that the temple of the Lord will be built. So similarly, in all our activities, day-to-day activities, we should have consciousness, a Krishna consciousness life, that we always try to offer our uh, results to the Lord, or we offer our fruits to the Lord. So if we do such things, then what will happen? We will always remember the Lord. And स्मर्तव्य सततम विष्णुर विस्मर्तव्यो न जातोचित सर्वे विदे निषेध असुर एतयोर एव किंकर. And always remember the Lord, never forget the Lord. These are the two rules which the scriptures tells us, and all other rules and regulations are also the subservient of these two rules, that always remember Krishna and never forget Krishna. So in this way we will try to remember the Lord. So we'll go to the next verse, text 48. ततो युधिष्ठिरो गत्वा सह कृष्णो गजाहव्यं पितरं सन्तव्यमाशा गान्धारीं च तपस्विनीम्. Translation purport by Srila Prabhupada. Jai Srila Prabhupada. Yes, Prabhu. Anybody would like to read? Okay, I'll start. Translation.
No, I'll.
Yes.
Thereafter, Maharaj Yudhishthir at once went to his capital, Hastinapur, according to Lord Shri Krishna, accompanied by Lord Shri Krishna, and there he consoled his uncle and aunt Gandhari, who was in ascetic. Dhritarashtra and Gandhari, the father and mother of Duryodhan and his brothers, were the elder uncle and aunt of the Maharaja Yudhishthir. After the battle of Kurukshetra, the celebrated couple, having lost all their sons and grandsons, were under the care of Maharaj Yudhishthir. They were passing their days in great agony over such a heavy loss of life, and were practically living the life of ascetics. The death news of Bhishma Dev, uncle of Dhritarashtra, was another great shock for the king and the queen, and therefore they required solace from Maharaj Yudhishthir. Maharaj Yudhishthir was conscious of his duty, and he at once hurried to the spot where with Lord Shri Krishna, and satisfied and bereaved Dhritarashtra with kind words from both himself and Lord also. Gandhari was a powerful ascetic. Although she was living the life of a faithful wife and a kind mother, it is said that Gandhari also voluntarily blindfolded her eyes because of the blindness of his husband, of her husband. A wife's duty is to follow the husband's sent person, and Gandhari was so true to her husband that she followed him even in the perpetual blindness. Therefore, in her actions, she was a great ascetic. ascetic. Besides that, the shock she suffered because of the wholesale killing of her 100 sons and her grandsons also was certainly too much for a woman. But she suffered all this just like an ascetic, Gandhari, although a woman, is no less than Bhishma Dev in character. They are both remarkable personalities in the Mahabharata. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, bro. Thank you, bro. Uh, yeah. So now all the respective sages went to their respective hermitages. So similarly, Yudhishthir Maharaj also, along with the Lord Sri Krishna, from Kurukshetra he came to the Hastinapur, the capital city. So now in today's time we call it as Delhi. So this is Hastinapur. So he came to his palace along with Lord Sri Krishna, and he saw that now I need to take care of my uncle and auntie also, the Dhritarashtra and Gandhari, because they are also in very pity or lamentable situation, because they all lost all their 100 sons in the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Bhishma Dev, Drona, Guru Drona, then all other great leaders, Karna, all warriors passed away in the battlefield of Kurukshetra. And so Bhishma, Dhritarashtra were also very sorry for this their children's death, because generally what happens, the children die after the father's death. But in this scenario, before the father dies, all his 100 children died, and not only that 100 children, but their their descendants also they were died. The sons of the Kauravas also died in the battlefield of Kurukshetra. So this was really a heavy loss for the both husband and wife, this Gandhari and Maharaj Dhritarashtra. Of course, it was their due to attachment toward their own children, that they didn't care to follow the dharma, and because of that they have to suffer. But Yudhishthir Maharaj here, because he was a pure devotee of the Lord, he thought, let me just go and console them, let me give them some santavana, so that let me become quite sympathetic, and let me also put myself in their shoes and understand the situation and console them, so that they will not feel any uh, lackings in their hearts or something. So in that way, he went and approached Gandhari and Dhritarashtra and consoled them along with Lord Krishna with some good words of solace. So this is the devotee of the Lord. He knew that Dhritarashtra from the very beginning he did harm to his to all the five Pandavas and to his mother also, but still he tried to burn them. He tried to kill them in the Lakshagraha. So many things they did. They tried to kidnap Draupadi. They tried to do the Chiraran of the Draupadi in that uh, full sabha of all the leaders in Hastinapur. Dhritarashtra was also part of that sabha. In fact, Duryodhana also gave poison to Bhim, along with all the five brothers and Mother Kunti. Dhritarashtra and Duryodhana plotted a plan to just kill them in that Laksha Graha. So many such things they plotted just to finish these Pandavas, because they were thinking that these are the thrones of their lives. But here, Yudhishthir Maharaj was not, these Pandavas were not the thorns, they were like the flowers which were blossoming in this beautiful kingdom of Hastinapur. But Dhritarashtra didn't have the eye externally and internally to see the things in a right way. But because in the moh of his own sons, he was misguided, and instead of having Vidurji with him, because Vidura was always guiding the Dhritarashtra. No, you are coming in the moh of your children and you are taking these decisions, but this is not right. But still, Yudhishthir, this Dhritarashtra didn't care for the kind guidance of Vidurji, and then he was also insulted, that we'll see in the later chapters. But the point which we are trying to understand is that the Dhritarashtra did so many wrong things to Yudhishthira and Pandavas, but Yudhishthira didn't took any offense inside his heart, and he always tried to support or to give him good things in the right manner. So now everybody is lamenting for their near and dear ones who are lost in the battlefield of Kurukshetra, but Yudhishthir Maharaj uh, is trying to give good facilities, and he is trying to give everything to Dhritarashtra and Gandhari, because they are now left with no sons, and being a devotee of the Lord, he is having a very soft corner towards their uncle and auntie's maintenance. So that's why he gives them a words, uh, speaks some kind words, and just tries to console them with this verse along with the Lord. And in the history of the scriptures, this Gandhari, Kunti, Draupadi, these three women became really, really famous and popular because of their activities. Kunti's prayers, Draupadi's surrendered, and in tapasya or ascetic, this Gandhari is really famous because when she came to know that my husband is blind, so from that day onwards, she also decided, no, I will also now, I will also not see the world now. I will also make myself blindfolded because my husband is blind. And she was very faithful and surrendered to his husband, and she always desired good for the husband. And uh, because of that, she was having so much, and she was very effulgent and so powerful from inside Gandhari, that she was always trying to help Dhritarashtra also. Uh, and besides that, she was also suffered because she lost all her sons in the battlefield of Kurukshetra, and being a mother, she was really lamenting for them. But uh, but just uh, but just Yudhishthir Maharaj, by kind words, they were consoled, and they were now feeling a little uh, soothingness in their hearts. So this is the remarkable personalities. So Gandhari, out of the remarkable personalities, this, yeah, Bhishma Dev, like Bhishma Dev was also very dedicated towards the kingdom of Hastinapur, committed towards the Hastinapur. So similarly, Gandhari was also committed always to Dhritarashtra, and she was also faithful towards Dhritarashtra. And she also tried to do good to Dhritarashtra just by serving him in this worst situation. So we'll go to the next verse, text 49, the final verse of this chapter. पित्र चानुमतो राज वासुदेवानुमोदितः चाकर राज्यं धर्मेण पित्र पैतामहां विभुः. Translation purport by Srila Prabhupada. Jai Srila Prabhupada. Anybody would like to read, or should I conclude? Okay, I'll conclude then.
I can.
Okay, Mataji.
I
Hare
can
Krishna.
After this, the great religious king Maharaj Yudhishthir executed the royal power in the kingdom strictly according to the codes of royal principles approved by his uncle and confirmed by Lord Shri Krishna. Purport by Shri Prabhupada, Jai Shri Prabhupada. Maharaj Yudhishthir was not a mere tax collector. He was always conscious of his duty as a king, which is no less than that of a father or spiritual master. The king is to see to the welfare of the citizens from all angles of social, political, economic, and spiritual upliftment. The king must know that human life is meant for liberating the encaged soul from the bondage of material conditions, and therefore his duty is to see that the citizens are properly looked after to attain this highest stage of perfection. Maharaj Yudhishthir followed these principles strictly, as will be seen from the next chapter. Not only did he follow the principles, but he also got approval from his old uncle, who was experienced in political affairs, and that was also confirmed by Lord Krishna, the speaker of the philosophy of Bhagavad Gita. Maharaj Yudhishthir is the ideal monarch, and monarchy under a trained king like Maharaj Yudhishthir is by far the most superior form of government, superior to modern republics or governments of the people by the people. The mass of people, especially in this age of Kali, are all born Shudras, basically low-born, ill-trained, unfortunate, and badly associated. They themselves do not know the highest perfectional aim of life. Therefore, votes cast by them actually have no value, and thus persons elected by such irresponsible votes cannot be responsible representatives like Maharaj Yudhishthir. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports of the first canto, ninth chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled The Passing Away of Bhishma Dev in the Presence of Lord Krishna.
Okay, Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Mataji. Yeah, so in the Srimad Bhagavatam, there is a one verse called Guru Nasasyas, Pita Nasasyas, Svajano Nasasyat, and Daivi Nasasyat. that if a person who is not able to liberate his surrendered souls or sheltered persons, then he is not actual person. For example, if a guru, if he is not able to give liberation, if he is not able to show the path of liberation to his shishya, then he is not the actual guru. Similarly, the king who is not able to give the knowledge, the spiritual knowledge to free himself from birth, old age, disease, and death, then he is not the right king. He is just a cheater in the form of a king. Similarly, the parents and the parents also, if they are not able to free their children by giving them the knowledge of Krishna consciousness, then they are also not the worthy parents. So similarly, if and the devtas also, if they are not able to give or show the actual path of liberation to their worshippers, then they are also not the actual devtas. So this is the verse in the Srimad Bhagavatam which very beautifully explains that roti, kapda, makan, everybody is giving, food, clothing, shelter. But what needs to give is the spiritual knowledge also. Dhoti, kurta, harinam, that also needs to be given to the people in general. Dhoti means the spiritual dress or the spiritual consciousness, spiritual culture. Dhoti, uh, yeah, and Harinam, the knowledge of the Lord or the holy name of the Lord. Just by chanting the holy name of the Lord, a person of the Kali Yuga will himself free himself from the bonds or the pangs of this material nature. So this is the meaning of this purport. And here Yudhishthir Maharaj was not an ordinary king. Earlier, Maharaj Yudhishthir, Maharaj Parikshit, they were like the Raja Rishis. They were the saintly kings. How? Because they were by nature, they were very saintly, but they were acting as a king just as the representative of Lord Sri Krishna to give the people in general, or they were thinking that the praja or the people of his kingdom are his own sons, are his own subjects, and in that way he was looking. The king was used to look towards them. Not only the king was taking care of their material needs, as we discussed, food, clothing, shelter, but he was also uh, highly intellectual and seeing that they also get the spiritual culture, the knowledge of birth, old age, disease, and death, which people are suffering. But nobody is thinking that uh, that oh, today he passed away, oh, tomorrow he passed away, but I will not pass away. I will stay here permanently. So this is the consciousness. The king has the right to change, or he will establish such principles of spiritual authorities, so that the people in general will follow, and those who disobey, they will also get a very tough punishment in order to teach others that by doing so you will be punished and it will be an offense. So similarly, Yudhishthir Maharaj was ruling the kingdom not by his own words or not by his own dharma, but he took the guidance from Bhishma Dev already, as we discussed in the previous verses. Now here it is mentioned that he took the guidance from Lord Krishna also, that how could he can uh, give the best, or we can do the best to the people in general of his kingdom. And similarly, Dhritarashtra was also taking care of the kingdom from a long time, so he also took the guidance. And here we can see that he also didn't neglected Dhritarashtra, although he was now old, invalid, but still Maharaj Yudhishthir gave respect to Dhritarashtra also. So we can see from here that Maharaj Yudhishthir was the ideal king. He was a Raj Rishi, and not only that, he was a devotee, never offends anybody. If anybody offends us, but still we should not have any grudge towards them, because a devotee thinks that whatever unfavorable things happening in my life is by the mercy of the Lord. This is just a token of the mercy of the Lord, because I have done so many bad karma, impious things in my previous life, that I should get more, or I was supposed to get more, but the Lord is giving me in a small token in the form of my karma. So this is how the devotee thinks, and that's why he never blasphemed or harassed Dhritarashtra also. He was giving all the facilities to Dhritarashtra and Gandhari. Similarly, he was taking guidance from time to time from them. So this is the ideal behavior of the devotee, where he learns from everybody whatever needs to be learned and implement in his day-to-day life. Of course, we should learn from these characters, from devotees also. But when we get time, or when we are in office, or when we are at some outside world, so we should also try to see the good in others, and we also should try to encourage that, and we should try to bring them in Krishna consciousness also. Otherwise, at least we should appreciate the good qualities of the people in general outside the world, and we should also try to implement that in our lives to some extent that is favorable for our devotional service. So this Maharaj Yudhishthir was leading a was leading the kingdom with such good principles, and he was taking the advices from Brahmanas also. We'll see in the future chapters that he was taking the advice from the Brahmanas also, the great sages, to rule the kingdoms, to do these samskaras, to do these yajnas and all. So he was also doing his duty. He also performed two or three these sacrifices, Ashwamedh yajna and some yajna, uh, for the pleasure of the Lord. So in that way, he was doing. He also did a Rajsuya yajna. So in this way, he did so many things for the pleasure of the Lord, and he was representing the Lord. And Lord only wanted to just vanish all these impious Kauravas and to establish Maharaj Yudhishthir, because now Kali Yuga will come. So if the Lord will not establish the dharma at this time, if he will not establish Yudhishthir on the throne of Hastinapur, then the people in general will they the uh, take up the Shudra process. And this is what happening in the Kali Yuga. Everybody is Shudra, although they are born in the family of Brahmanas, but they are acting like a Shudra. So in Kalau, Shudra Sambhavat. So in Kali Yuga, everybody is Shudra. But when we take the process of Krishna consciousness or devotional service, then we actually establish ourselves uh, in this spiritual knowledge. And this spiritual knowledge is so important that just by implementing in our life, all the things will fall in place. And Maharaj Yudhishthir was teaching us example that just by obeying the rules of the Lord, dharmam tu sakshat bhagavad pranitam, just by obeying the Lord's or instructions of the Lord, we can do justice to everybody. And but now people in general, although they are very well educated, uh, with so much degrees and all, but still but if they don't have the spiritual knowledge, then it is a decoration on the dead body. So this spiritual knowledge or the spiritual culture is so important to us that Srila Prabhupada went to America to give the spiritual culture, because he knew that everybody wants imported things, right? In this today's generation, everybody wants imported things, and imported things from US and from this Western world, people like so much. So that's why Srila Prabhupada started this International Society for Krishna Consciousness from America, so that it will be uh, it will be given to every Tom, Dick, and Harry, and he can practice this Krishna consciousness in his life, and he can make the life sublime by this process, and he can take up to the names of the Lord, the association of devotees, rereading the scriptures like Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, and worshipping the deity form of the Lord as Bhishma Dev was worshipping. And just by chanting the holy name of the Lord, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, just by following these principles on the path of devotion, we can do the rightmost things to all people in general. And this is the Kartik month where we can also encourage other devotees to to take up this Krishna consciousness very nicely and do Damodar Arti and offering deep with filled with love to Lord Damodar, to Yashoda Damodar, and bind themselves with the love of devotion. So with this, I will end. I will just give pause to my talk. If anybody wants to have any questions or comments, or if you want to add some thoughts towards today's teachings, please do add. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Prabhu, the best sentence was the Krishna is the transcendental GPS. Heard for the first time, and
Hare
it was
Krishna.
really nice.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Prabhu. I also heard it in one lecture. So I thought, and I also find it very nice that the GPS doesn't gives upon us. So the Lord Krishna will also never gives upon us. So we should always somehow or other making things favorable. We should try to do small baby steps. We should take small baby steps in the service of the Lord. Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Yes, Uday Prabhuji.
Nothing, Prabhuji, from my side.
Okay, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Any devotees would like to add their comments or something, uh, their realizations, they are most welcome.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhu, actually, the shlokas, the explanation was fantastic, and the purports written by Prabhupada was like really beautiful. So, when the last shloka was going on, Prabhu, and when you were explaining about the Guru Dasyat, so that verse when you were saying, I just remembered one of the stories, so related to Srinivas Acharya, related to the book cart was stolen by the thieves. So in that story also, if you see, Prabhu, the king actually used to, bribe the thieves to stole the books and to stole the actually the people over there. So he was actually in that people that he used to bribe and do all those things. But just mere presence of Srinivas Acharya and being with him for some time, he completely changed and he became one of the devotees. Means he took the initiation and he became one of the devotees of Srinivas Acharya. And then the kingdom which was led by him was fantastic. So it was like Vishnupur place, and then the devotees used to only he used to only tell the only devotees used to reside in the city in that kingdom, and others were means he was the motivation to all the people from the kingdom. So that just remembered me when you were saying related to king also. So that was also one of the realization I just realized. Krishna.
Thank you so much, Mataji. Very nice point you add. And by adding your point, it becomes more clear that if the leaders, great leaders of the society, takes up the Krishna consciousness, then all the people in general will also definitely follow these principles. In fact, Srila Prabhupada, in many times in his purports, mentions these things, that this Krishna consciousness we are trying to give to all the leaders and the great leaders of the world, that please take this Krishna consciousness, because by taking this Krishna consciousness, not only they will be benefited, but all the people in general who are following them, yad yad acharati shreshthas tatta devatara jano, that the people in general will also follow and they will all become the devotees of the Lord, and this world will become a very happy place to live in for all, and it will be favorable for all. So this is a Srila Prabhupada also time to time mentioning these points just to uh, encourage the leaders of the world to take up this Krishna consciousness. And if, as you mentioned from this Srimanavas Acharya's example, that as the king becomes a devotee or the leader becomes a great devotee, then all the mass of people, they will also follow this principles of the king, and they will also make their life sublime. So this is the thing which we are also requesting everybody, that please take up this spiritual culture, take up this Krishna consciousness, and by your example, because preaching is not done by only speaking Krishna Katha, by our actions and behaviors also this preaching can be done. So if we'll become ideal in our character, then the other people will also get inspired. Oh, he is the devotee of the Lord, although he is chanting and doing services, but still he is also ideal in his behavior, in his life. He is doing his duties nicely, following the principles and all. So that will also inspire other people also to take up the Krishna consciousness. So this is a very nice point. So thank you so much all. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So
Thank
with your permission, if you don't have any questions or comments, we can give pause to today's session. Thank you so much.
yeah.
And I seek forgiveness for taking a little long. And I apologize also if I have made any mistakes or if I have said something that is not relevant in this katha. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Thanks a lot.
Krishna Prabhu.
Thank you so much, bro. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Srila
Krishna.
Prabhupada,
Yeah.
Srimad Bhagavatam. महापुराण की जय, उपस्थित भक्त वृंद की जय।
जय।
थैंक यू।
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.